This story is titled, My Girlfriend Said She Wanted a Break to Find Herself. Then I found her in Cabo with my boss. I wrote a vacation review so brutal, TripAdvisor banned me. Now she's back, crying on my porch, screaming, "You're a monster." I'm writing this from the parking lot of a shitty red roof inn while the night manager stares at me through the glass like I'm casing the place. My phone is on 9%. My hands still smell like sunscreen and betrayal. And somewhere out there, my now ex is probably trying to scrub my review off the internet before her influencer brand implodes. I didn't plan this. I didn't plan any of this. One minute you're buying your girlfriend a soy candle and a yoga retreat voucher for her healing journey. The next, you're staring at a Facebook photo of her sucking down margaritas with your boss in Cabo like you're the damn punchline to a joke no one told you. I'm not okay, but if I'm going to be the villain in their story, I'm at least going to make sure I'm the most entertaining villain TripAdvisor has ever banned. Let's rewind to 3 months ago, before the unraveling began. I'm Jordan, 29, graphic designer by day, emotional doormat by night. My girlfriend, ex-girlfriend now, was Claire, 27, astrology obsessed, eternally between passions, once sold handmade incense that gave me a rash. We'd been together 2 years. 2 comfortable, decent, nothing special years. I thought that was enough. Apparently, Claire didn't. She started getting real into the concept of finding herself, which, as it turns out, was code for shopping around for someone richer with a better jawline. My boss, Greg, 44, was both. A self-described serial entrepreneur, Greg had money, charm, and the smarmy charisma of a divorced man who still thinks he can DJ at Coachella. Claire always said she wanted stability. I guess Greg's Tesla counted. It started with the talk trademark. Claire, sitting cross-legged on my IKEA futon, sipping her matcha, telling me through glossy eyes, I just feel like I'm not whole. I need time to explore, to breathe, to be. I nodded like a supportive idiot. She said she'd be staying with her cousin upstate for a week. I bought it because I'm dumb, or maybe just in denial. 3 days later, I'm at work, dragging myself through another round of let's make the logo pop, when Greg bursts in late wearing a linen shirt and a sunburn, talking about business inspiration he got on a trip to Cabo. Red flag 1. Then, an intern shows me a TikTok. Isn't that your girlfriend in the background? It's Claire, unmistakable, in a poolside selfie with Greg's grotesquely tattooed arm around her. Her healing journey apparently included day drinking and grinding on my employer. I didn't say anything, not yet. Instead, I took PTO, chugged 2 Red Bulls, and started writing the most vicious, poetic, and detail-oriented TripAdvisor review the Playa Blanca resort has ever seen. I compared the resort spa to a haunted DMV. I likened their shrimp tacos to seafood's final cry for help. But the pièce de résistance? I included a pixelated screenshot of Claire and Greg in the background of another guest's Instagram post, lovingly labeled Employee of the Month and Homewrecker Barbie. TripAdvisor flagged it, took it down in under 12 hours. Then they banned me. The story could have ended there. Me, alone, but righteous. But then, she came back. Not metaphorically, I mean literally. Claire, on my porch, in a Patagonia hoodie 2 sizes too big. Greg's, tears streaking her fake tanner, screaming, calling me the monster. Me. Because apparently, my review cost Greg a lucrative branding partnership with a wellness kombucha company. She yelled that I'd destroyed her life, that I humiliated her, that people were calling her Cabo Claire in the comment sections. I didn't say anything. I just opened my phone, held up the last photo I took. Her and Greg in a pool, his hand on her thigh, while I was allegedly being too emotionally intense. I asked, "Did you find yourself yet?" You ever watch someone cry so hard their fake lashes start to peel off mid-yell? That's what I was dealing with on my porch. Claire sobbing, makeup running like a gothic river, clutching her phone like she could text her way out of consequences. "You don't get it," she kept saying, as if cheating was some niche experience I just hadn't unlocked yet. Spoiler, I get it. I got it the moment my boss started wearing beaded bracelets and quoting Rumi after business trips. Claire used to say I was her safe place. I think what she meant was boring, but convenient. We met at a mutual friend's game night, Catton, because of course it was, and she asked if I wanted to split an Uber home. That Uber turned into a 3-year lease on mild emotional neglect. Greg, my boss, is the kind of guy who adds a shirtless beach pic to his email signature. He calls his employees rock stars and tells you he's totally accessible, then ghost reads your emails for a week. When Claire met him at our company's ugly sweater party, I should have known. She laughed too hard at his joke about NFTs. They started following each other on Instagram that night. Harmless, right? Wrong. Let's go back to when Claire needed a break. I thought maybe she was dealing with some kind of existential burnout. She'd been spiraling, talking about the universe and alignment and how Sagittarius moons aren't meant to settle. I said, okay, take a week. She packed a duffel, kissed my cheek, and said, don't worry, I just need to breathe. Meanwhile, Greg called a last-minute strategy retreat and asked me to finish his pitch deck before Friday. I worked late. Claire flew to Cabo. Same time zone. Different planets. I didn't just find her via TikTok. That was just the start. The real kicker? She posted a throwback story with the caption, "When your soul feels seen," and tagged the hotel. After she was back, like she thought enough time had passed, like no one would notice. I did. I commented. Then I got blocked. So I reviewed. Petty? Maybe. Therapeutic? Absolutely. I wrote with the rage of 1,000 unpaid interns. When TripAdvisor banned me, I screenshotted the rejection and made it my lock screen. Claire on my porch wasn't a one-time event. She came back 3 times that week. The second time she brought banana bread, like I was going to eat baked goods from a woman who soul bonded with my direct manager over mezcal flights. That night, I got a call from Greg. He said, "You're making this really difficult." I asked if he meant professionally or personally. He said, "Both." Then tried to offer me a raise if I took down the review. I laughed so hard I almost threw my phone. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just mad anymore. I was motivated. I've always been a quiet guy, not a doormat, just conflict-averse. But there's something about betrayal margaritas and CEO romance that really lights a match under your last nerve. After Claire's third porch visit, this time she brought a playlist titled Us. I decided if I was already the villain in their Hallmark meets HR violation drama, I might as well direct the movie too. Claire stopped crying by the third visit. Now she was doing this weird, soft voice thing like we were co-parenting a memory. She told me I was being so cruel and that I didn't understand how spiritually manipulative Greg had been, right? The man who calls every woman kiddo was suddenly a warlock of deceit. Greg, meanwhile, had the audacity to call a team meeting and ask us to really lean into vulnerability this quarter. He wore a linen tunic and made us do trust falls. I visualized letting him hit the floor every single time. And then there's me, Jordan, graphic designer, non-Tesla driver, formerly devoted boyfriend with a mild oat allergy and a new hobby, chaos. So I took the bait. I played it cool. I replied to Claire's playlist with a heart emoji and told Greg we should talk. I asked if he'd mentor me. Told him I wanted to follow his footsteps. He beamed. What I really wanted? Access to his calendar. You see, Greg had a bad habit. He overshared on Slack. One time, he accidentally pasted a whole hotel invoice into the team channel. It included champagne, a couple's massage, and 2 meals listed under room 203. I screenshotted it before he deleted it. I also noticed he had a recurring wellness check-in every other Thursday. That, friends, was not a therapist appointment. It was Claire. Now, remember that kombucha brand I mentioned in part 1? Greg had hyped it for weeks. It was his white whale, a multi-million-dollar branding contract that would take us global. He even told me to mock up concepts with him and Claire, silhouetted in the sunset. I kid you not, the tagline was, "Ferment the moment." So I emailed the brand. From a burner. Subject: potential PR liability. Confidential photos enclosed. I attached 2 images. One of Greg and Claire mid-makeout at a resort with his hand firmly where HR would shudder. And the second, a Slack screenshot of him calling one of the female interns a real marketing snack. I ended it with, "Just a concerned employee. Do what you will." Guess what? The brand ghosted him. Entire campaign canceled. Greg came into work looking like someone had murdered his Peloton. Claire posted a cryptic story with a Lana Del Rey quote and a broken heart emoji. Update 1. All right, Reddit, so yeah, this kind of blew up. First off, massive thanks to the dozens of you who DM'd me, especially the one who said, "Burn it down emotionally, not literally. Good advice. You'll be glad to know I haven't committed arson yet." Second, some of y'all had theories, like Claire being pregnant. That's not it, unless she's giving birth to karma. But there is something bigger, something I didn't even know when I started this. See, someone at work tipped me off anonymously about Greg's other side hustle. And what I found? Let's just say we haven't reached peak disaster yet. Okay, so remember how I thought the worst part was getting dumped from my boss during a soul-searching break? That was adorable. Naive, because it turns out Greg, my ethically allergic kombucha hawking boss, wasn't just screwing around with my girlfriend. He was running an entire scam side hustle from our office Slack, like it was a Craigslist back alley. You ever think you're at rock bottom and then someone hands you a shovel? That was this week. Let's talk about the anonymous tip I got. It came from a burner email. Check wellness rebrand v2 final.pptx on the company drive. You'll see. So naturally, I did what any freshly betrayed graphic designer with insomnia and a vendetta would do. I opened that file like it was Pandora's Dropbox. Inside, a 50-slide pitch deck not for the kombucha brand, but for a sketchy, emotional optimization app called Clarity Cult. Yes, with 2 C's. The idea? A subscription-based platform that charges users $29.99 a month to reframe trauma into triumph. The twist? Greg was using real stories from our employee therapy sessions as case studies. Let me repeat that. He was pitching a mental health app using our private team wellness check-ins as content. Claire was listed as the emotional ambassador. I had to reread it 3 times before I started laughing. Not a sane laugh either. The kind of laugh you make when you realize the gaslight factory is pumping overtime and you've been living in it. So I took screenshots. Lots. I compiled every Slack message, email, and Google Doc reference that tied Greg to this nonsense. And then, because life is nothing without a little flair, I created my own presentation, titled Ethical Composting: How to Turn a CEO into Fertilizer. I didn't send it yet. Timing is everything. Instead, I leaked just one screenshot anonymously to the kombucha brand's legal team. And guess what? They replied. Personally, the head of legal emailed me directly, asking if I'd be willing to discuss further. Greg must have felt the universe shifting, because the next day he walked into the office and said, "Someone's been spreading misinformation." He looked directly at me. I smiled and offered him a kombucha. Meanwhile, Claire went radio silent. Not a single porch visit, no text, no vegan banana bread, just a trail of deleted Instagram posts and one last photo of her in a crystal shop with the caption, "Cleansing my aura from toxic men." The irony? She was holding a jade egg in one hand and Greg's car keys in the other. The rest of the office was tense. Greg canceled meetings. HR went into DEFCON mode. Someone whispered that we might be bought out, or worse, sued into oblivion. And me? I started sleeping better than I had in months. I even bought a little succulent for my desk, named it Justice. You ever see someone who thinks they're untouchable realize, mid-sentence, that the walls are closing in? That moment when the bravado drains out of their face like someone pulled the plug on their ego? That was Greg, in the flesh. In the conference room, clutching his emotional optimization pitch deck like it was going to save him from what was about to happen. I was there. I brought popcorn. Metaphorically, HR frowned on the literal version. So the kombucha brand. They moved fast. Turns out their CEO's daughter is in therapy and not thrilled by the idea of some midlife crisis startup bro monetizing trauma for clickbait. Their lawyers started poking around and suddenly Greg had to postpone Clarity Cult's launch, which might have been manageable if I hadn't printed out every sketchy receipt, Slack message, and HR note I could find, bound it into a neat little report, and left it anonymously on the board's desk before their quarterly meeting. Oh, and I called it the Greg Files, a case study in arrogance and poor decision-making. He tried to bluff his way through it, of course, claimed it was all ideation and hypothetical frameworks. But one of the interns, the same one he called a marketing snack, stood up during the meeting and said, "He made me cry twice." That wasn't hypothetical. Silence. One board member actually stood up and said, "Jesus Christ, Greg, it was glorious." So here's how it all went down. Greg was asked to step down. Translation: he got fired, but got to pretend it was a sabbatical. They gave him one of those empty statements. Greg will be pursuing new personal opportunities and we thank him for his leadership. Claire, predictably, vanished. Deleted all her social media. Probably off in Sedona now charging crystals and writing a Medium post about boundaries. The kombucha brand reached out again, this time to offer me a freelance gig. Apparently, they liked my investigative clarity. I told them I'd think about it. And then HR, sweet, passive-aggressive, spreadsheet-wielding HR, invited me to coffee. They asked if I wanted to confidentially expand on any prior incidents that might support their case. I told them I had receipts. They smiled. I smiled. Justice, the succulent, got a little more sunlight that day. Update 2. Okay, Reddit, I wasn't planning on a second update, but here we are. A lot of you wanted to know what happened to Claire. Well, guess who showed up yesterday? That's right, on my porch. Again, only this time she wasn't crying. She was furious. She accused me of ruining her future, said I sabotaged her healing, and that I'm emotionally abusive for weaponizing storytelling. She threw a paper cup of iced matcha at my front door and screamed, "You're a monster!" I stood there for a second. Then I said, "No, Claire, I'm just a graphic designer, but thanks for the inspiration." Then I closed the door. Justice the succulent got a new pot. You know that post-revenge calm people talk about? Like in movies where someone burns the villain's lair and walks away slow-mo without looking back? Yeah, it's a lie. You don't get peace. You get spam calls, awkward hallway stares, and your ex screaming, "You're a monster," while iced matcha drips down your siding. Closure isn't cinematic. It's weird. It's petty. It's beautiful in a chaotic, messy way. And now, somehow, it's also lucrative? So Greg's departure left a leadership vacuum the size of his ego. For about a week, everyone walked around like we'd escaped a cult and didn't know what to do with our freedom. People actually started eating lunch at their desks without fear of being roped into a mindful breathing circle. Meanwhile, HR did their sweep, whispered follow-up chats, anonymous surveys. I participated. So did everyone Greg ever made cry. Then Claire, because she apparently hasn't read the room, posted a now-deleted story from a yoga retreat with a caption that said, "Some monsters wear kind faces. Healing isn't linear." Or clarity before chaos. Girl, you cheated on me with my boss in Cabo. I'm not Voldemort, you're just not a good person. But here's where things turned. I got a job offer, not just any offer. The kombucha company. They want me to join full-time. Brand design lead, double my salary, fully remote, and a cheeky little line in the contract that says, "We value integrity, not Greg energy." Just when I thought it couldn't get better, I get a Slack message from my old team's group chat. Someone uploaded my original ethical composting deck. It's gone semi-viral internally. People are quoting it. One guy said he's framing slide 12, which says, if your leadership strategy includes trauma monetization and hot yoga affairs, perhaps step back and try gardening. Even better? The intern Greg creeped on? She got promoted. Karma's a professional now. I know some of y'all doubted me in the DMs, said I must have been exaggerating, that no one writes a TripAdvisor review that gets them banned. Well, you're wrong, because today, I got a physical letter from TripAdvisor, like a cease and desist meets, please never write anything again. It was the most polite, scorched earth I've ever read. The last line literally said, your creative liberties, while impressive, are not aligned with our platform's vision. I laughed so hard I snorted tea. Matcha, actually. Bought it out of spite. And Claire? She's blocked now. No more Porch cameos. No more playlists. No more Lana Del Rey healing memes. I bought a new doormat that says, don't. So here I am, officially done with Greg, Claire, and the sentient hellscape that was our office Slack. TripAdvisor still won't let me make a new account, even under the name Terry Lacto. But I've moved on, mostly. My house smells like eucalyptus candles now. The doormat says, don't. And every time I sip kombucha, it tastes a little like justice. But before we get to the end of this ride, there was one more little detour. One last little gift I needed to give the universe. Let's talk about the going away party. Yes, they threw Greg a going away party. HR tried to cancel it. PR begged them not to. But someone, probably his weird little startup acolyte Marcus, insisted. He deserves closure, they said. So they rented a conference room, ordered sad sushi, and printed a giant sign that read, "Good luck, Greg," with a clip art volcano. I wasn't planning on going, but then I remembered something. The slideshow. Greg had prepped a slideshow for the kombucha pitch, the one he never got to use. He called it Vision in Motion. It was filled with photos of him meditating shirtless, quotes he attributed to Buddha, which were actually from Tumblr, and, best of all, a video montage of him and Claire doing trust exercises in Cabo. Yes, that was on the company server. And yes, I replaced it. So when Greg stood up, fake humble, to say a few words, someone hit play on the projector. Except instead of his shirtless spiritual sizzle reel, what played was a lovingly curated compilation of Slack screenshots, passive-aggressive email signatures, and a still image of Claire in a hotel robe holding a resort-branded cocktail with the caption, healing. Gasps. A single fork clinked on the sushi tray. Greg just stood there, pale, silent. Someone started slow clapping. It wasn't me, but I joined. HR shut the laptop mid-slide 17. Too late. Afterward, no one said a word to me. Not in anger, not in thanks, just knowing nods. I was legend now. The quiet, oat-sensitive designer who took down a tech bro and his poolside muse with nothing but Canva and receipts. Claire? She posted a black square to her story. No caption, no context, just vibes. Greg? Last I heard, he's taking time for self-reflection in Arizona, which we all know means he's probably trying to launch a new crypto-based wellness platform called something like Chakra Coin. And me? I accepted the job. Started Monday. New email, new salary, new team that thinks boundaries aren't a threat. Justice the Succulent is thriving. It's been 4 weeks since the slideshow incident. The office has moved on. Greg has disappeared into the horizon of burned bridges and bad branding. Claire hasn't resurfaced, unless you count a cryptic Medium post titled, When Healing is Weaponized, a Survivor's Tale, which contains exactly 0 details but includes a moody photo of an ocean rock. I think it's a metaphor, for me, but I'm not bitter. Okay. I'm a little bitter. Let me tell you about today. I got a delivery. No note, no return address, just a small cardboard box with a single item inside, a custom engraved glass that said, Monster Energy, in fancy script. Claire's handwriting. I laughed so hard I scared the mailman. And you know what? She's not wrong. I am a monster. By Claire and Greg's standards. A monster who uses Google Docs like a scalpel. A monster who weaponized hospitality reviews. A monster who said, enough, and meant it. There's something freeing about no longer trying to be the good guy, about realizing you were never really in the story they were telling. You were just the plot device they underestimated. But not anymore. Now, I work from home, drink overpriced kombucha, and lead a team that values transparency and boundaries without irony. My new boss? She read my ethical composting deck and asked if I'd consider turning it into a workshop. Hell yes, I would. And Greg, I got an alert last night. A new subreddit, r/clarity cult scam. Apparently, he tried to relaunch his emotional wellness brand on Kickstarter. He got $123 before it got suspended. Most of it came from a guy named Terry Lacto. You're welcome, Greg. So yeah, Claire called me a monster. But monsters don't break, monsters don't beg, monsters survive. And if being a monster means I got out, stayed out, and took down the pyramid scheme disguised as a love triangle, then I'll wear the title like a crown. TripAdvisor can keep their ban. I've got better platforms now, and I hear Yelp has much looser guidelines.